Hey everybody, welcome back to the vlog. Thank you so much for joining me for tea time. I really appreciate each and every one of you stopping by. So today is going to be a Panasonic day. Now, today is February 1st. It is the release day, the announcement, the day that we can pre-order the Panasonic S1 and the S1R. So I wanted to talk to you about it a little bit. I did not receive one of these cameras to do an official review on it, but I went and reviewed all of the videos and all of the articles and everything having to do with this camera or these cameras. And I want to distill it down for you and just give you, I think, the highlights so that you don't have to go and watch all 30 of them that I did this morning and see what you think about it. I'm going to give you my impression on it, and then we'll kind of go from there. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a couple of bad, but there's a lot of good stuff with these two cameras. Once again, the S1 is going to be about $2,500. It's not cheap, but it's 24 megapixels. So it's very much so akin to like a Canon EOS R, which is 30 megapixels, or the Nikon Z6, that's 24 megapixels. The Canon is at $2,400, so it's $100 cheaper, whereas the Nikon is at about $2,200 for the body itself. That's about $300 cheaper. So now the Panasonic S1R is more akin to the Nikon Z7. The Z7 is about 46 megapixels, whereas the S1R is 47 megapixels. Pretty close. Now, as far as cost goes, the Panasonic is $3,700 for the S1R, whereas the Z7 is $3,600. So they're pretty much comparable. So just to give you a scope, like where things stand as far as pricing goes, and then we can look at the rest. Now remember, all those NDAs were lifted today, so we're able to see all of this real world reviews that are out there, and of course all of the paid for reviews. We don't want to get into those, but all of the reviews from different people, it's out there now, so we can look at them. Now the body itself on the S1 line really looks like a DSLR. I really do like that it has that top-facing LCD that gives you all of your information just like any other DSLR would. So you got your camera modes, your focus, your exposure compensation, your f-stop, your ISO, your battery life, you know, yada, 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 everything on there. I really like those a lot. Some companies have decided to go with dials instead of that LCD on the top. Like, for example, Fujifilm, some of their cameras have the extra dial, which I do like for that retro type of feel camera, but I also do like giving us all that information at the top of the camera so you don't have to go to the back of your screen to be able to get the information. I like it. I think it's very helpful. So it does have that. Now, the one thing that everyone's been asking for, and they call it pro or not pro, is dual card slots. And the rumors were correct. This camera, or these cameras, the S1 and the S1R, both have dual card slots. So they have SD card slot as well as XQD. And of course, the XQD will be able to accept CF Express cards once available much faster. So that is really nice. And once again, that is what a lot of people were looking for. So many of you that I've talked to have said, listen, I won't even purchase a camera that doesn't have dual card slots. Why is that? Well, redundancy, right, guys? A lot of people that are pros, they want that redundancy. They can't afford to have a card fail and now have nothing, lose an entire shoot. So it's not possible. Now, the cameras also have IBIS in it, embodied image stabilization, I think 5.5 to 6 stops, which is really nice. People are looking for IBIS, right? Also, OLED EVF on the back, supposedly really gorgeous, a really nice OLED on the back, which is good. This is what you're looking at when you're looking through that viewfinder, right? Is that OLED. How good it is going to be what the representation of that virtual reality that you're seeing through this camera. Remember, you're only seeing a screen. You're getting that virtual impression of what you see, which is good and it's bad, right? Some people like it, some people don't. I think it's really kind of good, especially if you have a very high rate of refresh and the monitor back there, that OLED is really, really crisp. That augmented reality works out really well because now if you do any kind of setting changes or variations, what you see is what you get, right? It's WYSIWYG, so it's kind of cool. Next, really nice feature, especially if you're going to be shooting in the dark or if you're an event photographer where the lighting is just simply crap most of the time, or you're doing astrophotography, it is buttons that light up. Who would have knew? That's really cool. That's really great. So you push a button and not only does your LCD at the top light up, but you can also have your buttons light up. That is really nice. They also have their quick menuing system, so their UI is now a little bit more advanced than previous, and you can customize it to whatever you want it to be on that quick menuing system. So that is really cool also. Now, one of the downsides is that articulating back screen. It's not. It is their tri-axis screen or whatever you want to call it. So it flips kind of like 70% out this way and it flips this way, but it doesn't fully flip around. So, it's okay, but some folks out there have also said, just like dual card slots, if it doesn't have a fully articulating back screen, we don't want it. All right. So that is an issue, and it's going to be an issue for some. It does not have that, but it's still not bad. That back screen looks amazing. So whatever they're using for a back panel, it is crispy. It looks really nice. And of course, it is touch. So it is also multi-touch. So you can kind of like pinch in and pinch out and click on that screen to be able to pull focus also, which is great. Now, as far as your maximum shoot rates or your continuous shoot, you can do a maximum of 9 frames per second if that is that single AF. But if you're doing like an auto AF, you can get a maximum of 6 frames per second. This is not a really fast camera. And this is for both the 24 megapixels and the 47 megapixels. It is my understanding. So not quick at all. So it's not going to be something that I would say that a sports shooter is going to be using that are trying to motor off 15 frames per second, 20 frames per second. It's just simply not going to do that. One of the other issues that I think that this might have is with AF. Rumors were correct. It is only a contrast detect system. Right? It does not have that on-sensor phase detection. So supposedly the AF is doing quite well in the testing, but that's kind of yet to be seen. I've seen some video where I've seen it hunt kind of in and out a little bit, but that hunt was pretty quick. It didn't fully lose it, but that could also be in editing where we didn't see it lose it. So I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. I think that could be one of the Achilles heels of the Panasonic S1 and S1R is that tracking, because once again, it's only contrast detect. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, you also have, just like rumors said, that high res mode where you can shoot, for example, with the 47 megapixel version all the way up to like 187 megapixel images where it stitches them all together. That's great. But when I saw it in action, you take a picture and then you wait.
2 hours later.
You wait a little longer. You can see the bar moving and it's still processing. It's literally like 10 seconds or even more later, it's done creating this massive photo. Obviously, it's done in camera, so it needs to take a little bit, but that's a long time. So, if you're like a nature photographer that's just doing a wide landscape and you just need to pull the trigger once and then sit and wait for 10 seconds, that would work. But I really do feel these type of modes, like this high-res mode, is a novelty. That's the way I look at it, like a trinket, something to just say. We could shoot all the way up to, close to 200 megapixel images. We're close to medium format. It's really not. Anyways, that's just my opinion. Now, what it also has is this deep learning autofocus like Sony does and Olympus does now, so that it will actually learn the subject. It already knows what's going on, for example, with eyes and faces and human bodies. And now they've added dogs and cats and birds into the mix. So that's kind of cool, so that it will track these type of things and it will track them well because it's already in their programming, so to speak. So that's kind of cool. So that might be a way to kind of get around this whole thing where it doesn't have something similar to dual pixel AF like Canon has, right? So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Now, coming into video, out of the box, the S1 is going to shoot up to 4K at 8-bit 30 frames per second. That is 420. So you are binning some pixels. You are losing some on the end. Now, it will also do 4K at 60 frames per second, 420 also, with about 1.5, 1.6 crop. All right, so it does crop down to about APS-C size. So is that an issue? Well, it might be an issue for some, but cropping is just the nature of the beast. Most of the camera manufacturers do it because they just can't push that amount of data. Now, what is interesting here is that the S1, one of my favorite features, is that it will allow for unlimited recording. Unlimited recording. That's not that 30-minute deal. Unlimited recording at HD, like 1080p, as well as 4K 30 frames per second. That's really cool, guys. That means you start the camera, you let it run. You don't have to worry about, did we, run into this 15-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute maximum recording time. You just record ad nauseum. I love that. I think that is really, really great. Now, if you do go up to 60p, that backs you down to, I think it's 15 or maybe 30-minute recording once again at 60p. That's okay to me. I think that's good. At least they're giving you that type of feature in video. Now, it does come with Vlog L. Now, that is your Vlog L and not a straight Vlog, but what's really interesting is you can get full Vlog in this package deal. This package deal is like a paid upgrade or a paid firmware upgrade that's coming. And it's going to give you full Vlog, but it's also going to give you the ability to record instead of 420, 422 10-bit instead of 8-bit internal to the camera, right? At 30p and 60p, all right, external with those same settings. That is really great. I'm hoping that maybe they'll give us possibly maybe like a vector scope or something like that, waveforms or some other added functionality with this paid upgrade. So I think that's kind of interesting that they are neutering, or they are kind of, let's say, making it a little bit more dumbed down when you first buy it, but with the ability to pay more to get the additional features. So they're already baked in, but to unlock it, you have to pay for that unlocking key. Whereas, like, for example, Fujifilm, they just unlock it for you for free as time goes on with these upgrades. Where you have Canon and Nikon, half the time, they'll just lock the thing down and call it a day, right? So I do like what they're doing. I don't like that it's a paid upgrade, but I understand where they're going with it, and it kind of makes sense. Now, continuing down the path of video, I did see some high ISO video out there doing some direct comparison between the S1 and, for example, the Nikon Z6. And at higher ISO, let's call it 52,000 or so, it was cleaner. The S1 was cleaner than the Nikon Z6. Also, I found that the internal IBIS really did a good job when it came to image stabilization. It was a bit jumpy instead of smooth, let's call it, but it did stabilize the images really quite well, and I think even better than what I saw on the Nikon Z6. So the other thing that I really thought was great was the ability to use an XLR cable with this. So instead of just using that simple input jack, right, your mic jack, you were able to attach one of the, for example, XLR adapters for your GH5S. Snap it onto the top, and now you have XLR input. So your audio is professional audio on this camera. So remember, guys, I was saying that they needed to make this a hybrid camera, and by them saying it's just for photography and not for videography, I think they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. They didn't do that. It was a bunch of nonsense. This is a good video camera, and I do think that's every bit of an upgrade to the GH5S. And I do think a lot of the folks that I know that are shooting film, that are shooting ad spots, commercial spots, 15, 30-second ad spots for TV, I think that they will upgrade to this. I really do. And I think that's what Panasonic needed to happen. The fully articulated panel is a problem, but most of the people that I know are going to use off-camera video display devices anyways so that the talent can see themselves. The downsides that I see, number one, like I said, AF. I think that the contrast detect might end up being the Achilles heel of this camera or cameras. I don't know, but we'll see how good their tracking is. That has always been an issue, and that is one of the issues that the people that I know that shoot those ad spots have. They've always said that they want better ISO performance, so they want full frame, but they also need tracking that works, so they don't always have to shoot manual. So that could be an issue. That fully articulating back panel could be an issue also for a lot of folks that aren't those pros that are going to have a big screen sitting up there pointing in the opposite direction for the talent. So that could be an issue. But all in all, I do think that this camera or cameras are really good. I think out of the gate, Panasonic has really knocked it out of the park. The reason I say that is because I feel that Nikon and Canon have just introduced those full frame cameras Gen 1 that are kind of okay. They're good, but they're just not stellar. The Panasonic S1 and the S1R has the potential to be stellar, especially once this firmware update comes into play and maybe they add in more features and the price isn't too expensive to get that add-on, that firmware update, unlocking key, or whatever they want to call it. That could really be something great. And if that AF is rock solid, they have something here because the price is in line to everyone else, unlike we just reported on the Olympus, where to me, the price was just not in the ballpark, right? It just simply wasn't at $3,000 for a Micro Four Thirds camera. So I really do think that Panasonic has something here. So once again, of course, I do like that they didn't cripple this camera too much, unlike other companies do, and they did add a lot of good features and professional features into both bodies. So do I think that this camera is going to be good? I really do. I don't have it, so I can't give you a real-world review on it, but what I've seen so far, it does look exceptional. Once again, AF could be the Achilles heel, but we simply don't know. I don't know as of yet. I want to know what you think, though. Do you think that this is a camera that you might want to look at? Maybe upgrading your GH5S to this? Or maybe you are a Canon shooter or a Sony shooter or a Nikon shooter, and now look at this Panasonic as, wow, it has a lot of stuff that the other ones don't have. I might go down that route. This is what's been going on with the full-frame mirrorless wars. There's been a lot of just new blood that's going out there with the EOS R, with the Z6, the Z7. Now we have the S1, the S1R. There's a lot out there. So there's a lot of people with wads of money in their hand that are holding it tight to try to determine which is the right way to go. So I do think that Panasonic did themselves well with this camera. It definitely put them out there as being a possibility, a definite possibility for the professional shooter and not just the amateur or the pro-am. So we'll see what ends up happening. Once again, I want to know your thoughts. Please, in the comment area, put those thoughts. Let's have this discussion as we always do. You guys are amazing. You're just articulate. I love your thoughts. If I'm wrong with something, please call me out. I'm sure I got something wrong. I always do. Call me out on it. Put whatever I missed in there, whatever it is. In that comment area, put your thoughts. And as always, please throw me a big thumbs up. That would be stellar. I'd really appreciate it. And smash that subscribe button so you can get all my content when it becomes available, and click the bell icon so when it is available, you will be notified of it immediately. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much once again for stopping by. I'm going to finish my tea. We'll see you in the next video. Take care and happy shooting.